Hey, David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today.
Excellent, excellent. And welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast where entrepreneurs go all in on their business and we connect them with those that can help them do so. We're so happy for you to come by today and share with us a little bit about those skills that you have acquired over time. And as we definitely understand, time is one of our most valuable resources. So let's go ahead and jump into things. David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, there's a lot to tell, and we have such a short period of time. I'm originally from New York. I joined the Air Force after high school. That took me around the world. And it was through the Air Force that I eventually became a trainer. I was in the one career field for 28 years, air transportation, loading just about anything that you can imagine that's going to fit on a civilian or passenger aircraft. And I was invited to come here to Georgia, to
Mhm.
Dobbins Air Force Base, to be an instructor. Prior to that, I had done some theater. I had worked in radio broadcasting for a while, but this was my first time to be formally involved in the training business.
Okay.
And once I got started in training, I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I took to it, and I'm still involved in training and development today.
Awesome, awesome. Now, your voice just sounds awesome. Now, we're going to jump back a few years. Now, did you do some drama stuff in high school or anything like that?
Not in high
Okay.
school. A lot of it happened with my drama and radio. I had a love for radio ever since I was a little kid.
Right.
I grew up in the 60s and 70s and with a little transistor radio under my pillow.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until many years later when I was active duty in the Air Force on Guam, I had an opportunity to visit a radio station. The program director said he saw my enthusiasm and said, "Listen, I have an opening on Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons. Can you be the DJ for that?" And there I
And here
was.
we go.
I was on the air,
Okay.
and I still have my very first tape, and I do listen to it every once in a blue moon,
Okay.
and it sounds very different than the way I sound today. But I got started in radio when I was active duty. I came off of active duty and went into the reserve so I could pursue
Hmm.
my fame and fortune of radio broadcasting. Found some of the fame, but none of the
None of the
fortune.
fortune.
So I eventually had to go out and get a real job.
Hey, I definitely understand that. And thank you so much for your service. We truly do appreciate it. We could not do the things that we do without you serving in that way. And talking about the military, I always say it's a great thing because they give you excellent skills. Now, how did you transfer those skills that you received from the military to what you're doing now?
Well, that's a great question. Well, certainly the skills that I learned when I got into the training business and learning that by the seat of my pants, certainly I was able to take those skills. But I think just basic what I was able to take from the military is that I guess that independence. When I went to basic training, I looked around and mom wasn't there to help me with my laundry or to make, well, she wasn't making my bed, but she was doing the laundry and doing all the cooking, helping us with our everyday chores and things like that. And mom wasn't there. So
Mhm.
you quickly have to learn how to do these things on your own and be independent. One of the things I learned when I started working in corporate was the respect that employers have for folks that have come from the military because of the work ethic that we have coming from the military.
Yeah, most definitely. That discipline is something that's just, you can't really put a price on it. It's one of those things where I have a younger nephew. He's going in June.
Mm.
And as we were discussing, I told him, hey, it's going to be a great thing because it's going to help you have the discipline from this point forward with regardless of whatever it is that you do. They're going to make sure that you're disciplined because I had a small little taste with the military. I didn't go to the military, but I worked at Fort Benning, right there in Columbus. I was in the mess hall. I would take the last four of your social, and I saw how you have to be disciplined in what it is that you do to fit in there. So I know that's a excellent skill to carry over. Now, I want to learn more about your current business and the way you're helping business owners with their presentations. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, that's a great question. So, Present Your Way to Success is the name of the business. And the business was started while I was in corporate, because in training and development, not only was I designing training, delivering training, and I eventually started training trainers to training subject matter experts, many of them in the IT field, to be trainers or facilitators or run meetings a lot better or to be a speaker at a conference. And I found that I was good at it. And I've been a part of Toastmasters for about 30
Okay.
years as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
And I started mentoring folks in Toastmasters and found that I was good at it. I liked it. And I said, well, maybe I can make a business out of this. So for 5 years, I had it as a side hustle while I was in corporate. And now it's my full-time business, working with subject matter experts that for a couple of reasons. One, that subject matter expert that's struggling to write a speech. The
Okay.
subject matter expert that says, every time I get up in front of the networking group, I'm just not making the impact that I would like to make. So those are a couple of the kinds of folks that I work with.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because when you first came into the office, we introduced you to our customer service team, and I was thinking about some of the objections that they have to overcome when they're answering the call. Do you help businesses with those types of things as well?
That's another great question because, yes, I have worked with customer service folks because the process that I use can be applied to not only trainers, but it can be used for speakers. It can be used for customer service people, anybody that is communicating with somebody else, because it's all about how do you engage your audience? How do you ask questions properly? It's also about the most important part of communication is that listening part of communication. So customer service folks can also benefit from the processes that I use.
Excellent, excellent. And this podcast was created for those entrepreneurs that have gotten going in their business and may have gotten stuck on one thing or another. They may have this section of the business going well, but this is not going well. Tell us how being able to articulate your thoughts and communicate them to others who you're trying to get your target person to, why is that important for a business owner to be able to do?
That's another great question. So, what I would say is that the one of the things that I find with subject matter experts or business owners that they forget about, they'll spend a lot of time on their website, their building, the hiring the right people, and all of the aesthetics that go along with that business. But one of the areas that I find that they miss is their presentation skills, their stage presence, the speech itself. Many subject matter experts, and I was guilty of this myself for many years, of just getting up. Hi, my name is David Doerrier. I'm a presentation skills coach. I do this, I do that. And everybody is doing exactly the same thing when you go to a networking group. You have to stand out and be different. So I hope I was answering your question there.
Yes, yes. No, it is very important because, again, this is more like a how to. Like when they log on and they try to find how do I communicate better? How do I present my service or product better? I want them to come here, so and you're sharing them with those skills that they need. Now, as a business goes along, they get into this thing that we call used to. They're used to doing one thing or another, and they don't necessarily adapt to things that are new. Tell us, how do you get business owners or those subject matter experts to buy into what it is that you're doing to try something new?
Well, what I use is one of the principles that is part of the 8 principles that I use to help people to engage their audience. And one of those principles is the principle of ownership.
Okay.
And here in a speaking situation, my audience has to take ownership to want to listen to this information. And the only way that my audience will listen to it is that me as the speaker, I have to have an introduction crafted well enough that gives them a reason to listen. So I say that because that's the same principle I have to use with my clients. My tagline is talking and telling, ain't training or selling. It's just a little lower on the website right there. Talking and telling ain't training or selling. So as a coach, I'm not going to just talk and tell you what you need to do to get better.
Mhm.
As a coach, I have to get you to see why you need to make a change. I need you to take ownership that, yes, I understand now the value in applying these new principles. I see the value of what's going to be different at the end, how my audience is going to react. So I need my client to take that ownership.
So tell us a little bit about the experience when working with you. You come on, is it one of those things where you just work with us for 6 weeks, 6 months, and then go off into the world, butterfly? Or is it one of those things where you have a consistent follow up? What does the process look like when someone is working with you?
So if I'm working with individuals, what I usually have is a package where we meet 3, 4, 5 times. A lot of it, all of my packages are customized for your needs.
Okay.
It's not a cookie cutter approach. However, I do have foundational principles that I use for each of my clients. But when you come to me and say, these are my goals, this is what I want to do, then I'm going to assess we will work together to assess how much time we need to spend together depending on your goals. But what I like to do with individuals is have 3, 4, 5 sessions.
Okay. Okay.
Each of those sessions are 60 minutes. My first one with you would be 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm working with a group of trainers, things are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to do with trainers is to have a couple of days with them.
Okay.
Now, those days could be spread out where we talk first about the basics of training, the foundational skills of training. We go through some exercises. We get together again. We start applying those to their curriculum. I record them. And then what I like to do is come back a couple of weeks later and have one-on-ones with those trainers so we can work through anything that they're struggling with or to assess where they're at.
Okay. So helping these business owners be able to communicate their message is what you're doing, helping those different segments of business communicate their message to others is what you're doing. This is where you are now. Tell us, where do you see the future of your business being? What does the future look like for you?
Well, one of the things that I'm working on now is finding more speaking opportunities.
Okay.
Looking for conferences where I can speak about. I'm an expert on the adult learning theory, or I am very, very versed on the adult learning theory, and have even written a book about it. And you can find it free. You can download it free on my website. Just go to get the book, Principles of Engagement, which is also the adult learning theory. Just fill in a couple of blanks here, and then you download your PDF document for that.
Okay.
So what I want to get out and speak more about is the adult learning theory and how anybody that is presenting, whether you are mentoring someone, training someone, speaking in front of a small group, large group of people, how the adult learning theory applies in all speaking opportunities.
Yes, being a sales director here, me being able to communicate my message to the reps, or when I'm going out on sales calls, being able to communicate my message is important to me. And I know, just knowing you about a month now, I think it's 3, 4 weeks, I've utilized some of the things that you have shared, even with the engagement. The engagement portion of the couple presentations that I've had to do since we met have been different because I engaged early. So there are tons of tips and tricks that you can share with the people out here to help them to get their message out better. And I appreciate it. And we just starting to get to know each other. So I truly appreciate it. Now, let's say that you have gotten the people trained. You have them giving excellent presentations, and the customer service teams have no problems, and everyone is fine. So we come back to David. David, what is it that you would do if you didn't have to train people on their presentations anymore?
That's a great question.
Mhm.
I get some good questions, but I love this question. The first thing that comes to mind and is to continue to evaluate, because what I have found is that what you're saying, now that I've trained everybody and then everybody is speaking well, what I have found is people seem to go back to their old habits.
Okay. Okay.
But let's say that didn't happen.
Yes. Yes.
Let's say
Yes.
that didn't happen. So maybe evaluating, letting people know that they are continuing to perfect their speaking, because you need feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the type of feedback that I was used to in the past was, "Oh, you did a good job, David. Let's go to lunch."
Right. Right.
You
Right.
need more than that.
Okay.
Because I think I'm part of Toastmasters,
Mm-hmm.
and probably there's many parts of Toastmasters that's beneficial. But I think the biggest part of Toastmasters that's beneficial is getting the evaluation, getting the feedback on how you're coming across to folks. So I would say, number one, even though everybody is doing a great job, you
Mm-hmm.
still need evaluating.
Okay.
You still need feedback. Other than that, I'm going to be traveling.
Okay.
My
Nice.
wife and I are going to be cruising. We love to cruise.
Okay. Okay.
We have a timeshare with Marriott.
Okay.
We love to travel with our timeshare, going to the beach.
Yes.
So it would be traveling, maybe even getting an RV
Okay.
and traveling around and giving people evaluations as we
Nice.
travel,
Nice.
and going on cruises.
That's awesome. Now, I want to ask about the cruises. What is the coolest place that you have cruised to?
Well, we have cruised, I guess, Mexico. I did a couple of years ago. You may see the beard. I've been a Santa Claus
Yes.
for about 30 years.
Okay.
And I did a cruise with 50 or more Santas
Oh,
out
okay.
of Los Angeles, and we went down to Mexico, and that was a great cruise. To me, just being on the ship
Mm-hmm.
is what I love, because when the ship gets into port,
Mm-hmm.
I like to stay on the ship. Let everybody else go,
Okay.
because now I got the place to myself.
Okay.
So I can go in the pool. I don't have to fight to get into the pool.
Yes,
I can
yes.
go. I love to walk
Okay.
on the ship. So
Okay.
I lose weight when I'm there. And if have you ever been on a
I have
cruise ship?
not. I have not.
There are a lot of stairs
Okay.
on cruises.
Okay.
And I love to start from the bottom and work
Work
my
my
way
way
to
up.
the top and work my way back down again. I love to walk. And very rarely will I ever take the elevator.
Well, that's awesome. That's a lot different than what I've heard about cruises. You losing weight on them, because they say it's a lot of food there.
There's a lot of
They
food.
say it's a lot of food on those ships.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
But you got to, like anything, you got to eat
Yeah,
healthy and
moderately, yeah.
moderately. And they give you small portions
Okay.
when you're at dinner, but you can have as much as you want.
Oh, okay. So you
if
can
you
go
want
seconds and
another,
thirds.
yeah, give me another steak, give me another lobster, give me some more shrimp. They'll keep bringing it to you.
Okay, okay,
Oh, sure.
okay. Well, that's awesome. One of these days, I'm gonna get out there, and do some traveling and things like that. Right now, I'm really focused on working, and I will go some places, but I'm gonna get on that cruise ship. I'm looking forward, and with you seconding it, I definitely have to make it happen. Now, David, can you please share with the audience today, how can they get in contact with you so they can find out how you can help them with their presentation skills?
Well, number one is through my website, presentyourwaytosuccess.com. The other way would be through LinkedIn. I'm posting every day some sort of presentation skills tip of the day. Today on Tuesdays, I always present a train the trainer tip of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And on Fridays, I usually have some sort of a quote of some sort. But every day, Monday through Friday, I am posting some sort of tip about presentation skills, about speaking skills.
And what's the correct spelling of your last name so they know how to find you on LinkedIn?
It's D as in David, Oerrier. Now, I should be the only one. Now, you may find my sister
Okay.
and my brother Mark
Okay.
on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
But if you find another David Doerrier, let me know about it.
Okay.
Because it's going to be fraud or something.
Yes, I understand. And we truly do appreciate you coming on, sharing these skills that you have acquired and nurtured over time. And I know it's going to help someone who listens to the podcast. And I always like to offer the last word to the guests that come on for me. So now is your time. Here's your last word.
Well, thank you so much for the last word. A couple of things. Number one, if anyone who has listened to this podcast and says that they've heard us on the podcast and gets in touch with me, I will offer a free 45-minute one-on-one consultation with me to talk about your current speech, a speech you want to write, maybe the fear of speaking in public, or maybe you want to create a training or a workshop. Just get in touch with me. Let me know that you heard this podcast, and I'd be happy to offer a free 45-minute one-on-one consultation. And then one last thing I'd like to leave folks with. I always get asked, what are the top 3 things or the top thing to keep in mind when you're presenting? And if I could just spend a moment just sharing those top 3 things. The number one key to being a good presenter is knowing your audience. I have been to many networking groups where someone will get up and speak, and they will be speaking to the audience as if we are all experts in that field. So you need to know your audience. Number 2, incorporate stories. All of your stories should have some sort of problem that your client was facing. What was the solution that you provided? And number 3 in that story, what was the outcome? So know your audience, have stories, and number 3 is have a conclusion. So many times people will give a presentation in a networking group and just end and just finish it. You have to have some sort of a conclusion where it could be just a quick review of what you covered, and maybe giving them an action item of some sort, and that could be a basic conclusion. So know your audience, use stories, and have a conclusion.
Awesome. Everyone heard those steps from David. 1, 2, and 3. Won't you better yet reach out to him so he can go into it a little bit more detail. David, we truly do appreciate you coming on today. And if we can help in any way, please let us know. And thanks.
Thank you.